The massive space station called Nexus Prime floated in the dark between star systems. It was the biggest structure ever built by all the alien races working together. Ships from dozens of different worlds came and went from its docking bays every day. Today, something very important was happening. The Galactic Council was meeting, and everyone knew this meeting would change everything. Ambassador Kane walked through the long hallways of the station. He was a tall man with gray hair and tired eyes. Behind him walked two other humans, but they stayed quiet. Kane carried a small device in his hand. It looked simple, but it was not. The aliens who saw them pass did not know what was coming. The council chamber was huge. It had seats for representatives from over 200 different alien species. The air was thick and heavy because so many different creatures needed different things to breathe. Some aliens floated in water tanks. Others stood on platforms that kept them cold. A few hung from the ceiling because they had wings instead of legs. Kane took his place at the small human section. Humans had only been part of the galactic community for 50 years. Most aliens still thought they were new and weak. This was exactly what humans wanted them to think. War Marshal Vex of the Draconian Empire stood up first. He was 9 feet tall with scales that looked like black metal. His voice was deep and scary when he spoke. The humans have been peacekeepers for too long, he said. They are soft. They do not understand real power. It is time for stronger races to take control. Many aliens in the chamber made sounds of agreement. The Draconians were known for their strong military. They had conquered 12 star systems in the last 10 years. Vex looked at Kane with yellow eyes that showed no respect. Hive Queen Mora spoke next. She was the leader of the insectoid race called the Swarm. Her body was long and covered in shiny green armor. 6 arms moved as she talked. Humans solve problems with words, not action, she said in a voice that buzzed like 1,000 insects. When the Vorth attacked our border colonies, humans sent negotiators. We lost 3 worlds while humans talked. The crystalline beings of the Vorth Collective made musical sounds that their translator turned into words. Humans are primitive, the translation said. Their technology is centuries behind ours. They use simple weapons and slow ships. Why should advanced races follow primitive leaders? Kane listened to all of this without showing any emotion on his face. He had heard these words before. For 50 years, humans had been the galaxy's peacekeepers. When wars started, they stepped in to stop them. When planets were attacked, they protected them. But they always used the smallest amount of force possible. They never showed their true strength. This was not because humans were weak. It was because they were careful. The council leader, an old alien with purple skin and 4 eyes, turned to Kane. Ambassador Kane, he said, the council has made a decision. Earth will no longer serve as peacekeepers. Other races will take this job. Also, Earth must pay tribute to the stronger military powers. This tribute will be half of all resources Earth produces each year. Kane stood up slowly. The chamber became quiet. Even the aliens who had been making noise stopped to listen. Kane's voice was calm when he spoke, but something in his tone made everyone pay attention. Members of the Galactic Council, Kane began. For 50 years, humanity has served as peacekeepers. We have stopped 17 major wars. We have protected 43 worlds from invasion. We have saved millions of lives across the galaxy. We did all of this while following very strict rules. War Marshal Vex laughed. It was a harsh sound like metal grinding against metal. Strict rules, he said. You mean weak tactics. Real warriors. Do not hold back. Kane looked directly at Vex. That is exactly what I mean, War Marshal. We hold back. We have always held back. Every ship we sent into battle, every weapon we used, every soldier we deployed, all of it was limited by our own choice. We could have ended every conflict in days instead of months. We could have destroyed entire fleets instead of disabling them. We chose not to. Queen Mora's 6 arms moved faster. You lie, she buzzed. We have seen human technology. It is basic. Simple, weak. You have seen what we wanted you to see, Kane replied. For 50 years, we have used technology that is decades behind our current capabilities. We have sent soldiers with training wheels still on. We have fought with one hand tied behind our backs, and we still won every time. Did none of you wonder why? The chamber was completely silent now. Some aliens looked confused. Others looked angry. A few looked worried. Kane continued. The human military operates under something called the minimal force doctrine. It means we only use enough power to solve the problem, nothing more. When the Draconians attacked the mining world of Kepler-7, we sent 3 small ships. Those ships stopped an invasion fleet of 30 vessels. We did not destroy the invasion fleet. We disabled their weapons and sent them home. The minimal force doctrine required this. He paused and looked around the chamber. The council leader tells me that tribute must be paid. He tells me that stronger races should lead. Very well. I hereby inform the Galactic Council that humanity is withdrawing from all peacekeeping duties immediately. The minimal force doctrine is no longer in effect. Earth's self-imposed limitations are removed. War Marshal Vex stood up again. His scales rattled with anger. You threaten us, human. With what? Your weak ships? Your simple weapons? The Draconian Empire has crushed stronger enemies than Earth. Kane smiled for the first time. It was not a happy smile. War Marshal, you have never faced a strong enemy. Strong enemies do not exist in this galaxy. There are only enemies who have been allowed to think they are strong. Humanity has been very careful to maintain that illusion. He held up the small device he had been carrying. This is a quantum beacon. I am now activating it. Kane pressed a button on the device. Nothing seemed to happen, but every electronic system in the chamber flickered for just a moment. What does it do? Asked the council leader. It sends a message to Earth, Kane said. The message is very simple. It says that the galaxy has chosen war over peace. It says that 50 years of restraint are over. It says that humanity's real military can now respond without limitations. Queen Mora made angry buzzing sounds. You cannot frighten us with empty threats. Kane walked toward the exit. Queen Mora, in your entire life, have you ever seen a human military vessel at full power? Have you ever witnessed human weapons operating without restrictions? Have you ever faced human soldiers who were not ordered to minimize casualties and preserve enemy lives? He paused at the door. No, you have not. None of you have. That was the point. We tried very hard to make sure you would never need to see what humans are really capable of. You have made that impossible now. War Marshal Vex roared. The Draconian fleet will burn Earth to ash. Kane looked back one last time. Marshal, Earth's tribute deadline is 72 hours from now. If you want to collect it, you are welcome to try. Just remember, you asked for this. The door closed behind Kane, leaving the council chamber in confused silence. Nobody knew that everything had just changed forever. 3 days had passed since Ambassador Kane left the Galactic Council. The tribute deadline was over. War Marshal Vex sat in his command chair on the Draconian flagship Iron Fang. Around him, his officers worked at their stations preparing for what they thought would be an easy victory. Status report, Vex commanded. Sir, the Draconian Third Fleet is in position around Earth's solar system, reported Commander Rex. 200 warships are ready for attack. Our scouts report that Earth has only 12 defense platforms and maybe 30 small patrol ships. This will be over quickly. Vex smiled, showing his sharp teeth. Good. When we are done, every species in the galaxy will know that the Draconians are the true power here. Begin the attack. But something was wrong. The draconian sensors were not picking up those 12 defense platforms anymore. They were not seeing the 30 patrol ships either. In fact, they were not seeing anything at all around Earth, except empty space. "Commander Rex," Vex said slowly, "where are the human defenses?" Rex looked confused as he checked his instruments. "Sir, I don't understand. They were here an hour ago. Now there's nothing. Maybe they ran away?" Suddenly, every screen in the draconian fleet went black. Then new images appeared. It was a human face, a woman with short brown hair and calm eyes. She wore a uniform that none of the draconians recognized. "I am Admiral Torres of the Earth Defense Fleet," the woman said. "War Marshal Vex, you have one chance to withdraw your forces from human space. You have 60 seconds to decide," Vex roared with laughter. "Human tricks. Where is your fleet, Admiral? I see nothing but empty space. You cannot frighten us with video messages." Admiral Torres looked directly at him through the screen. "You cannot see our fleet because you are looking in the wrong place. You are thinking like a primitive species that fights in 3 dimensions. Humans fight in more dimensions than your science understands." Vex was about to reply when something impossible happened. A massive human ship appeared right in the middle of his fleet. It had not jumped in through hyperspace. It had not warped in from another location. It simply materialized as if it had been there all along but invisible. The ship was unlike anything in the galaxy. It was sleek and black, covered in surfaces that seemed to bend light around them. No weapons were visible on its hull, but that meant nothing. The ship was 3 times larger than Vex's flagship. "I am Captain Reed of the EDF Endeavor," came a new voice over the communications. "War Marshal, your 60 seconds are up." More ships began appearing, not just around the draconian fleet, but inside it. Human vessels materialized between enemy ships, sometimes only meters away from their hulls. Within moments, the draconians found themselves surrounded by a fleet they had never seen coming. "Impossible," whispered Commander Rex. "How did they get so close without our sensors detecting them?" Captain Reed answered as if he had heard the question. "Your sensors work perfectly, Commander. They detected exactly what we wanted them to detect. The ships you saw 3 days ago were decoys. Real human warships exist in folded space until we choose to reveal them." War Marshal Vex tried to regain control. "All ships, open fire, destroy the humans." The draconian fleet obeyed. 200 warships fired their most powerful weapons at the human vessels. Plasma cannons, particle beams, and fusion missiles filled the space between the fleets. The weapons were strong enough to crack planets. Nothing happened to the human ships. The weapons passed right through them, as if they were not there. "Phase shields," Admiral Torres explained calmly. "Your weapons exist in normal space. Our ships can shift into dimensional space where your attacks cannot reach us. But our weapons can still reach you." To prove her point, one of the human ships fired a single beam of blue light at a draconian cruiser. The beam did not destroy the ship. Instead, it did something much worse. Every system on the cruiser simply stopped working. The engines went dead. The weapons powered down. The life support systems switched to emergency backup. But the crew was completely unharmed. "Gravitational pulse weapon," Captain Reed said. "It disrupts the atomic bonds in your ship's metal without harming biological tissue. Your vessel is now completely disabled, but your crew will live." War Marshal Vex watched in horror as the same thing happened to ship after ship in his fleet. The humans moved between his vessels like ghosts, disabling them one by one with surgical precision. No draconian died, but within 10 minutes, the entire Third Fleet was powerless and drifting in space. "This is not possible," Vex said. "No species has technology this advanced. Where did you get these weapons?" Admiral Torres appeared on his screen again. "We made them, War Marshal. Humans have been developing military technology for centuries, while serving as peacekeepers. We just never used it. Every time we stopped a war with simple weapons and basic tactics, we were learning. Every time we saved alien lives instead of taking them, we were studying. Every species in the galaxy taught us something about how to fight. She paused. The Draconians taught us about armor and shields. So we built weapons that ignore both. The Swarm taught us about hive tactics and coordination. So we developed AI that can predict group behavior. The Vorth taught us about quantum communications. So we learned to intercept and control quantum signals. Captain Reed took over the explanation. For 50 years, every alien race has been our teacher. You showed us your strengths, and we learned to counter them. You showed us your weaknesses, and we learned to exploit them. You thought you were demonstrating power. You were actually giving us lessons. War Marshal Vex felt something he had never experienced before: fear. What do you want from us? Nothing. Admiral Torres said, "We want you to go home. We want you to tell every species in the galaxy what happened here. We want them to understand that humans tried diplomacy first. We tried peace. We tried restraint. Those days are over." The human ships began to fade from normal space, becoming invisible again. But their message remained clear. Only the Endeavor stayed visible, floating next to Vex's disabled flagship. "War Marshal," Captain Reed said, "your ships will regain power in 6 hours. That is enough time for life support to keep your crews alive while you think about what you have learned. When your ships work again, you will go home. You will not return to human space. You will not threaten human colonies. You will not demand tribute from Earth." Vex found his voice. "And if we refuse? Then next time we will not be so gentle," Admiral Torres replied. "Today you learned that human ships can become invisible and untouchable. You learned that human weapons can disable your fleets without killing your crews. What you have not learned is what happens when humans stop trying to preserve enemy lives." The Endeavor faded from sight, leaving the Draconian fleet drifting helplessly in space. War Marshal Vex sat in his command chair, staring at the empty space where the human ship had been. For the first time in his life, he understood that there were forces in the galaxy far beyond his comprehension. On the bridge of the invisible Endeavor, Captain Reed turned to his crew. "Signal Admiral Torres. Phase 1 is complete. Kepler Station is next." The galaxy was about to learn that the Draconian Third Fleet was just the beginning. News of the Draconian Third Fleet's defeat spread across the galaxy faster than light itself. On every world, in every space station, aliens gathered around communication screens to hear the impossible story. The mighty Draconian Empire, conquerors of 12 star systems, had been defeated by humans without a single shot being fired back. Hive Queen Mora stood in her throne chamber deep inside the planet Nexus 7. Around her, thousands of worker drones buzzed with nervous energy. Her 6 arms moved quickly as she processed the reports coming from her scout ships. "This cannot be true," she buzzed to her War General Kex. "Humans do not have this technology. We have traded with them for 50 years. We have seen their ships, their weapons, their soldiers. They are primitive." War General Kex, a smaller version of the Queen with only 4 arms, clicked his mandibles nervously. "My Queen, our spies on Draconian ships confirm the reports. Human vessels appeared from nowhere. They moved through space like ghosts. Their weapons disabled entire fleets without killing anyone." Queen Mora's large compound eyes turned red with anger. "Then our spies are fools or liars. Humans cannot defeat the Draconians. If they could, they would have done it years ago during the border wars." "Perhaps," said a new voice. "They chose not to." Both insects turned toward the speaker. It was Dr. Ellis, a human woman who had been working as a trade representative on Nexus 7 for 15 years. She was small and quiet, with gray hair and gentle eyes. The Swarm had barely noticed her during all those years. Dr. Ellis, Queen Mora buzzed dangerously. You should not be in my throne chamber. Guards, remove this human. But when the Queen looked around, her guards were not moving. They stood perfectly still, their weapons lowered. Their eyes stared straight ahead as if they were asleep while standing up. Dr. Ellis smiled sadly. I'm afraid your guards cannot hear you right now. Your Majesty, a mild neural disruptor in the air system. They will be fine in a few minutes, but for now, we need to talk. War General Kex tried to move toward his weapon, but found that his legs would not obey him. What have you done to us? Nothing permanent, Dr. Ellis said. Swarm physiology is based on pheromone communication and electrical nerve signals. Both can be temporarily interrupted without harm. I've been studying your species for 15 years, General. I know exactly how your bodies work. Queen Mora felt fear creep into her mind for the first time in her long life. You are a spy. I'm a xenobiologist, Dr. Ellis corrected. My job was to learn about alien species while pretending to be a simple trade representative. For 15 years, I've lived among you, studied you, learned your weaknesses and your strengths. Every human trader or diplomat in the galaxy has been doing the same thing. The Queen's voice became a high-pitched buzz. Impossible. We would have detected spies. Dr. Ellis shook her head. You would have detected swarm spies or draconian spies or Vorth spies. But you were looking for aliens trying to act like other aliens. You never thought to look for humans who were simply being human. We didn't pretend to be you. We just lived among you and watched. On the other side of the galaxy, similar scenes were playing out. Commander Thax of the Vorth Collective stood in his crystal command center, watching his quantum-encrypted communications fail one by one. Every message his ships tried to send was being intercepted, changed, and sent back with different orders. How are they breaking our quantum encryption? He asked his communications officer, a crystalline being called Zek. They're not breaking it, Zek replied, his voice sounding like wind chimes in a storm. They're rewriting it at the quantum level. Sir, this should be impossible. Quantum states cannot be changed once they're observed. Unless, said a voice from behind them, you understand quantum mechanics better than the beings who invented quantum communications. Both Vorth turned to see a human maintenance worker they had barely noticed for the past 10 years. His name was Mike, and he had been cleaning their communication equipment and replacing broken parts. He was so ordinary that they had stopped seeing him completely. Mike, Commander Thax said in confusion. What are you doing in the command center? Mike smiled and pulled a small device from his tool belt. I'm not really a maintenance worker. Commander, I'm a quantum engineer. For 10 years, I've been installing tiny modifications in your communication systems every time I repaired them. Your quantum encryption now has human backdoors built into every component. Zek's crystalline form flashed with angry colors. You sabotaged our systems. I improved them, Mike corrected. Your communications work perfectly for normal operations. But when humanity needs to take control, we can override any message, change any order, redirect any signal. Your own ships are now following human commands instead of yours. The same pattern repeated throughout the galaxy. On the water world of Aqua Prime, the Amphibian Council of Elders discovered that their human cultural exchange student, Lisa, was actually a military strategist who had spent 12 years mapping every underwater city and defense station. On the desert planet Arid, the nomadic tribes learned that their human merchant Carlos had been a weapons expert, cataloging their traditional fighting methods and war machines. But the most shocking discovery came in the heart of swarm space. Deep beneath the surface of Nexus 7, in tunnels that the swarm thought were secret, General Brooks led a team of human soldiers through passages they knew better than the insects who had built them. How long have you been down here? Asked Sergeant Hill as they moved through the darkness. About 20 years, Brooks replied. We've had teams living in these tunnels since the first human trader arrived on this world. The swarm builds in predictable patterns. Once you understand their construction methods, you can predict where every tunnel leads, where every chamber connects, where every weak point exists. They reached a massive underground chamber filled with swarm egg pods. Millions of future soldiers for the Hive Queen's army grew in organic containers that covered the walls and ceiling. "Sir," whispered Corporal Walsh, "what are we going to do with all these eggs?" General Brooks pulled out a spray device. "We're going to make sure they hatch as friends instead of enemies. This compound will change their brain chemistry slightly. When these drones mature, they'll have an instinctive trust of humans and an aversion to violence. The Queen will never know the difference until it's too late." Back in Queen Mora's throne chamber, Dr. Ellis was explaining the scope of humanity's preparation. Every species in the galaxy has human visitors who have been studying you for decades. We know your military capabilities, your weaknesses, your battle strategies, your psychology. We've been inside your most secret facilities, reading your classified documents, mapping your defense networks. Why? Queen Mora buzzed weakly. "Why did you do all this?" "Because we hoped we would never need to use the information," Dr. Ellis said sadly. "Every human spy, every planted agent, every hidden study was insurance against this day. We prayed that diplomacy would work. We wanted peace. But we prepared for war. War General Kex found he could move again as the neural disruptor wore off. What happens now?" Dr. Ellis walked toward the exit. "Now the galaxy learns what humans are really capable of. Your communications are compromised. Your defenses are mapped. Your soldiers are outmatched. Your leaders are surrounded by humans who know you better than you know yourselves." She paused at the door. "The Draconians learned that human ships can become invisible. You'll learn that human agents have been invisible among you for decades. Every species will learn something different about human capabilities. By the time we're done, the galaxy will understand why we tried so hard to avoid this war." The Queen watched her leave, knowing that everything had changed. Across the galaxy, a million similar revelations were occurring as humans dropped their disguises and revealed the true extent of their preparation. The galaxy was beginning to understand that they had never really known their human neighbors at all. Commander Rax of the Meridian Republic stood in the emergency session hall on the neutral moon of Haven. Around him sat representatives from every remaining free species in the galaxy. The mood was dark and desperate. In just 2 weeks, humanity had revealed that they had been infiltrating alien society for decades. "We cannot fight them separately," Rax said, his blue skin pale with worry. "The Draconians tried and failed. The swarm discovered human agents in their deepest tunnels. The Vorth found their communications compromised. We must unite or we will all fall." War Marshal Vex sat at the Draconian table, no longer the proud warrior he had been before meeting the human fleet. His scales were dull, and his voice was quiet. "They disabled 200 of our best ships without firing a single deadly shot. Their technology is beyond anything we understand." Hive Queen Mora buzzed nervously, her 6 arms moving constantly. "Worse than their technology is their knowledge. They know us better than we know ourselves. My own drones now question my orders because humans changed their brain chemistry before they hatched." Commander Thax of the Vorth Collective spoke in his chiming voice. "Our quantum communications are no longer secure. Every message we send can be read and altered by human systems. We cannot coordinate our forces properly." Representative Adia of the silicon-based Nexus spoke through her translator. "The humans have turned our greatest strengths into weaknesses. Our advanced communications work against us. Our complex societies hide their agents. Our peaceful trade relationships gave them access to our secrets." Commander Rax nodded grimly. "Then we must use simple tactics. No electronic communications. No complex strategies. We gather every ship from every world and attack with pure numbers. Humans cannot be everywhere at once. Old Ambassador Vel of the Peaceful Harmony Coalition raised one of his 4 hands. Commander Rax, my people have never fought in wars. But we have 10,000 cargo ships that could be converted to military use. We offer them all. Similar offers came from around the room. The Aquatic Confederation promised their submarine fleets. The desert clans brought their fast raider ships. The mountain folk offered their heavy mining vessels as improvised warships. Species that had never worked together before were joining forces against the human threat. How many ships total? Asked Rax. His aide, Lieutenant Zox, checked the numbers. Sir, we have commitments for over 10,000 vessels. It will be the largest fleet in galactic history. Rax stood up. Then we make our stand at the Vega system. It's empty space, far from any human colonies. We force them to come to us and fight in open battle. No tricks, no hidden agents, no infiltration. Just ship against ship in honest combat. War Marshal Vex shook his head. Commander, you do not understand. These humans do not fight honest battles. They appear from nowhere. They phase through attacks. They disable ships without destroying them. How do you fight an enemy you cannot touch? By using so many ships that they cannot disable them all, Rax replied. Even if they destroy half our fleet, the other half will overwhelm them. Numbers will win. Meanwhile, on Earth, President Martinez stood before the Global Council in the capital city of Geneva. The room was filled with leaders from every nation. On the planet, outside the windows, the blue sky looked peaceful, but everyone knew that peace was ending. My fellow humans, President Martinez began. For 50 years we have hidden our true nature from the galaxy. We pretended to be weak so that others would not fear us. We held back our technology so that others would not feel threatened. We saved alien lives instead of taking them so that others would trust us. She paused, looking at the faces around her. Those days are over. The galaxy has chosen war. They have rejected our offers of peace. They have formed the largest military alliance in galactic history to destroy us. We must now show them why we tried so hard to avoid this moment. General Park of the Earth Defense Force stood up. Madam President, our intelligence reports indicate the enemy fleet has 10,000 ships. They are massing at the Vega system. They want a direct confrontation. How many ships do we have? Asked President Martinez. 1, General Park replied. The room fell silent. Finally, Defense Minister Cole spoke up. General, did you say 1 ship? Yes, sir. The EDF Endeavor under Captain Reed. It will be enough. Minister Cole looked confused. General, I understand our technology is advanced, but how can 1 ship face 10,000? General Park activated a holographic display showing the Endeavor. Because, sir, the Endeavor is not really 1 ship. It's a modular vessel that can separate into multiple independent units while remaining connected through quantum entanglement. When the enemy sees 1 ship, they're actually facing a distributed fleet that exists partially in normal space and partially in folded dimensions. President Martinez nodded. And Captain Reed? Reed is our best tactical commander, General Park said. He's been studying alien psychology and military doctrine for 30 years. He knows how each species thinks, how they fight, how they make decisions. When 10,000 ships attack him, he'll know what they're going to do before their own commanders do. In the Vega system, the massive alien fleet gathered in space. Ships of dozens of different designs floated in formation. Draconian battleships with their black scales and heavy armor. Swarm vessels that looked like giant insects with multiple weapon pods. Vorth ships made of living crystal that sang as they moved. Aquatic craft filled with water for their crews. Desert raiders built for speed and hit-and-run attacks. Commander Rack stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Meridian Pride. Around him, His officers worked at their stations, coordinating the movements of 10,000 vessels. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. "Sir," reported Lieutenant Zox, "all ships are in position. We have 17 different species represented in the fleet. Every major military power in the galaxy is here." "And the humans?" Rax asked. "Long-range sensors detect one vessel approaching. It appears to be the same ship that defeated the Draconian Third Fleet." Rax smiled grimly. "One ship against 10,000. Either the humans are completely insane, or they know something we don't." War Marshal Vex's voice came over the communication system from his own ship. "Commander Rax, I have fought these humans before. That one ship disabled my entire fleet. Do not underestimate them." "I won't," Rax replied. "But they cannot disable 10,000 ships. There are limits to what even human technology can do." The alien fleet spread out across millions of kilometers of space. Fast attack craft took forward. Positions. Heavy battleships formed the main battle line. Support vessels waited in the rear with backup forces. It was the most organized military formation in galactic history. And approaching them through the darkness of space came a single human ship. Captain Reed sat in his command chair on the Endeavor's bridge. Around him, his crew worked quietly and efficiently. The main screen showed the massive alien fleet waiting for them. "Captain," reported Commander West, "we're detecting 10,347 enemy vessels. They're arranged in a standard multi-species formation with Draconian ships leading the attack." Reed nodded. "They're thinking like separate species trying to work together instead of thinking like a unified force. That's their weakness." "Sir," asked Lieutenant Gray, "are you sure one ship can handle all of them?" Captain Reed smiled. "Lieutenant, today the galaxy learns the final lesson about humanity. We don't just fight wars differently than other species. We fight wars they can't even imagine." The greatest space battle in galactic history was about to begin. The Battle of Vega lasted exactly 47 minutes. When it was over, 10,000 alien ships floated dead in space, their crews alive but their vessels completely powerless. Not a single shot had been fired by the alien fleet before there. Weapons went offline. The single human ship, the Endeavor, hung motionless in the center of the disabled armada. Like a predator surrounded by fallen prey. Captain Reed had not destroyed the enemy fleet. Instead, he had demonstrated something far more terrifying: complete control. Every alien ship had been disabled with surgical precision. Every crew was unharmed but helpless. Every weapon system was offline but could be restored with a simple command from human computers. Commander Rack sat in his command chair on the Meridian Pride, staring at screens that showed nothing but error messages. Around him, his officers tried desperately to restart their systems, but nothing worked. The ship was alive but brain dead, breathing but unable to think. "How?" he whispered to himself. "How did one ship defeat 10,000? The answer came from Captain Reed's voice over the communication system. "Commander Rax, you and your allies made the same mistake that every species in the galaxy has made for 50 years. You assumed that humans fight the way you fight. You thought in terms of ship-to-ship combat, weapon-to-weapon engagement, fleet-to-fleet warfare." Reed paused, and when he continued, his voice was almost sad. "Humans don't fight ships, Commander. We fight the entire concept of war itself. The Endeavor didn't attack your vessels. It attacked the physical laws that allow your technology to function. Every piece of alien technology in this system is now operating under modified physics that we control." On the bridge of the Iron Fang, War Marshal Vex felt something he had never experienced before: complete defeat. Not just military defeat, but the realization that his entire understanding of power was wrong. "What do you want from us?" he asked. "We want you to go home," Captain Reed replied. "We want you to live, We want you to learn. And we want you to understand that this could have been avoided if you had accepted our offer of peace." 3 months later, Ambassador Kane walked through the corridors of the rebuilt Galactic Council station. But everything was different now. The station was larger, more advanced, and built with human technology that made the old version look primitive. Kane no longer sat in the small human section. His chair was at the head of the assembly, and above it hung the banner of the Terran Protectorate. The other species sat quietly in their assigned seats. War Marshal Vex was there, but he no longer wore his military uniform. Instead, he wore simple clothes and carried books about human philosophy and ethics. Hive Queen Mora attended the meetings, but she spoke softly and asked questions instead of making demands. Commander Thax of the Vorth Collective had become an eager student of human quantum mechanics. "The agenda today," Kane announced, "includes the establishment of new schools on 17 worlds, the completion of hospital construction on 43 colonies, and the graduation ceremony for the first class of the Galactic Peace Corps." Representative Ada of the silicon-based Nexus raised one of her appendages. "Ambassador Kane, my people wish to thank humanity for the new communication system you installed on our homeworld. For the first time in our history, all silicon-based beings can communicate directly with each other across the entire planet." Kane nodded. "You're welcome, Representative Ada. The new quantum neural network should also help your people develop individual personalities instead of just collective consciousness. We believe every being deserves to be unique." Old Ambassador Vel of the Harmony Coalition spoke up. "Ambassador, my people have a question about the human educational programs. Why do you teach our children about our own history and culture? Shouldn't conquerors replace our knowledge with their own?" Kane looked surprised. "Ambassador Vel, humans are not conquerors. We are protectors. Your cultures are precious and unique. Our job is to help them grow and flourish, not to replace them. Every species in the galaxy has something valuable to contribute to our shared future." In the medical section of the station, Dr. Ellis worked alongside alien doctors in a research laboratory. Together, they were developing new treatments for diseases that affected multiple species. Her former enemy, War General Kex of the Swarm, now worked as her research assistant. "Dr. Ellis," Kex buzzed quietly, "I still do not understand why humans saved my life during the war. I was your enemy. I tried to kill human soldiers." Dr. Ellis smiled as she examined a sample under her microscope. "General Kex, the point of war is not to kill enemies. The point of war is to end war. We couldn't end war by destroying you. We could only end it by helping you understand that there was a better way to live." She showed him the sample. "Look at this. It's a hybrid cell that combines swarm regeneration abilities with human immune system responses. Together, our species can heal injuries that would be fatal to either of us alone. That's why we saved you. Because together, we're stronger than we could ever be apart." In the education center, human teachers worked with alien children of dozens of different species. Former War Marshal Vex sat in one of the classrooms, listening to a human instructor explain the concept of controlled force. "Mr. Vex," asked a young Draconian student, "why didn't the humans just destroy all the bad people in the galaxy?" Vex thought carefully before answering. The question would have seemed foolish to him before the war. Now he understood its importance. "Because, young one, destroying bad people doesn't stop bad ideas. Humans knew that if they killed everyone who disagreed with them, eventually someone else would become bad and the cycle would continue. Instead, they chose to teach us how to be better." The student, whose scales were still soft with youth, looked confused. "But isn't it easier to just fight the bad people?" "Yes," Vex said slowly. "It is much easier to fight than to teach. It is much easier to destroy than to build. It is much easier to hate than to understand. That's why most species choose the easy way. Humans are different, Because they choose the hard way. They choose to do what is right instead of what is easy. On Earth, President Martinez stood in her office, looking out at the city of Geneva below. The world was busier than ever before, with alien students attending human universities and alien researchers working in human laboratories. The planet had become the capital of a galactic civilization that was more peaceful and prosperous than anyone had imagined possible. General Park entered the office with a report. "Madam President, I have the latest statistics from the Protectorate. World's crime rates are down 70% across all species. Educational achievement is up 90%. Life expectancy has increased by an average of 30 years for most alien populations." President Martinez nodded. "And military incidents? 0, ma'am. No conflicts anywhere in human protected space for 6 months. The Peace Corps is handling all disputes through negotiation and mediation." "Good," she said. "But General, I want you to maintain our military readiness. Not because I expect war, but because I want to be sure we never need it. The moment we become complacent, someone might test our resolve again." General Park understood. "The fleet remains at full capability, ma'am. But our crews spend more time on humanitarian missions than combat training now. They prefer it that way." In the deepest levels of the station, Captain Reed worked in a secure facility with representatives from every species in the galaxy. They were designing something unprecedented, a new form of government that would give every species a voice while preventing any single group from dominating the others. "The challenge," Reed explained to the diverse group around the table, "is creating a system that protects the weak without limiting the strong. Every species must feel that their concerns are heard and their needs are met." Commander Rax, who now served as the Meridian Republic's liaison to the Protectorate, asked, "Captain, what happens if a new species joins the galaxy, one that doesn't understand human values?" Reed considered the question carefully. "Then we do what we've always done, Commander. We try diplomacy first. We offer them the chance to join peacefully. We show them the benefits of cooperation, and if they refuse..." He paused. "Then we remind them gently that the galaxy has learned to choose peace over war." As the months passed, the galaxy settled into its new reality. Children of different species played together on playgrounds built by human engineers. Scientists of various races worked together on projects that benefited everyone. Artists created new forms of beauty that combined the best elements of multiple cultures. The most surprising change was in the former military leaders. War Marshal Vex had become a teacher of ethics. Hive Queen Mora led environmental restoration projects. Commander Thax designed communication systems that helped isolated species connect with the galactic community. They had learned that true strength was not the ability to destroy, but the wisdom to choose not to destroy. They had discovered that the most dangerous beings in the galaxy were also the most merciful. And they had finally understood why humanity had tried so hard to avoid war. The galaxy was at peace, protected by beings who had never wanted to fight in the first place.